Hi, and welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast. I'm Becky Bradley, and this is real stories of love, connection, and remembering who we are. So, this is a space for anyone that's moving through grief, loss, awakening, looking for something deeper or sensing there's far more to life than we've been taught. And today I'm going to be talking about this channeled wisdom that has come to me from my daughter, Kira. She died at 15 years old, and since then, she's been channeling this wisdom to me, so I'm sharing it with you today. These are really messages from the angels, higher beings that have guided me and helped me find peace in ways that I never imagined, that have taught me about this great awakening, and that have shown me that we're all moving into this and like really this beautiful connection beyond the veil, and really understanding that separation is an illusion. So when I channel Kira, I use a pendulum and a letter board, and my frequency rises high enough to meet hers, and she spells out letter for letter in these transmissions, word for word. So I just want to say that if you're thinking about connecting to the other side, it doesn't always have to be on a board. I get plenty of connection outside of that, just from meditation or walking around. They can connect in many, many ways through signs and synchronicities. But for today's purpose, that's what they do. She connects with me on this letter board. So I share these messages because they're not just for me, they're for anyone who's feeling the veil thinning, noticing the signs, anyone craving connection and guidance, from these angels, really also from me, someone who has walked through this unimaginable grief and found a deeper way to live. Just here to provide hope and guidance, that you'll find this channeled wisdom, this lived experience, and these practices that, really can help you transform suffering into connection, into a life fully felt while we're here doing it, really, so we can feel good always. So as I start this, I'm just going to go line by line. This is something that she channeled to me recently. And she starts out and she says, "Hi, Mom, open." So she's saying, open your field, open your channel. That's the first thing that she says. And then she says, feed, feed, feed. So when she's saying feed, 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 she's saying our job is to feed the energy and the wisdom and the vibration. And I'm really doing that to you. That's what this podcast is all about, feeding you. And then the next thing she says is hi. So she's talking about not like hi, hello, but like hi, like a high vibration. She's saying stay in this high frequency. And the next thing she says is high vibrating will carry high stars. So when our vibration is high, we can carry and receive transmissions from high level star intelligence. These UTs, these ultra terrestrials. And really, I talk a lot on this podcast about how we can keep our vibration high, how we can feel good always. It's possible. If you're here, you are raising your vibration. So the next thing she says is wisdom gives vary. So she doesn't, that kind of, one of the things I want to say about these channelings is sometimes they're not complete full sentences. But what I get here is that she's just saying that it gives a lot. It nourishes this wisdom that we are getting from the other side that is helping us move into these high vibrations. It's just nourishing us. It's giving us a lot. So she says it twice. High wisdom gives vary. High wisdom gives vary. And when she repeats something, it's just really emphasizing that what she's saying, this wisdom is potent and it's abundant. And then she says, feed, trust, give UTs, feed, feed, feed. So if we go to the part where she says feed, again, she's pointing out feed others. Not only am I feeding you, but you are all feeding others as you go out into the world. Trust. She's saying trust the process, trust the connection. The next thing is give UTs. So give, share what the UTs are sending us. Like I'm sharing this with you, but not only that they give us this information, and we also, by feeding it, are feeding them. So the next thing is feed, feed, feed. And it's really just a core action of what we're doing here is feeding and feeding and feeding, feeding energy to us, feeding energy to the collective, feeding ourselves. The next thing she says is, you feed masses with high wisdom. High wisdom asks stars. High wisdom educates. High vacating feeds high vibration. High wisdom, high vibration, high educate masses. So she's saying you feed the masses. She's naming my role specifically, that I'm feeding the masses, but really it's not just me, it's all of us together. So maybe I feed you, you get something from this podcast, and then you go feed somebody else information, even if it's just frequency and it's not through words. And it's this ripple effect that coming through me, it can spread out. And then the next thing is with high wisdom. So she's saying, we're going to feed the masses with high wisdom, that this content, it's not just surface level. It is high dimensional wisdom. The next thing that she says is high wisdom asks stars. So these transmissions, the stars, the UTs, they're asking us to do this feedback loop, really. So high wisdom asks stars. So my transmissions, they ask the stars to respond. So when I'm connecting, it's asking Kira, the angels, the stars to respond. And there's this feedback loop where they're feeding me, I'm feeding, and it's this beautiful transmission of energy. And the next thing is high wisdom educates, and high vacating feeds high vibration. So my purpose is to educate. Through everything that they're giving me, I'm pushing out to you just by you listening to it. And then she always talks about vacating. High vacating feeds high vibration. So vacating is clearing out our identity, our ego. I talk a lot about that on the podcast, and that has happened to me massively, just vacating who I thought I was. So when we vacate, and we do those things, we clear out ourselves, we work on ourselves, it clears us to be empty vessels or open vessels, really, for this high vibration. The next thing is high wisdom, high vibration. So these two work together. They're inseparable. The high wisdom, the wisdom coming from these angels, is high vibration. I mean, it's coming from the highest realm. The next thing she says is high educate masses. So the purpose of this channeling is to educate people into higher vibration, higher consciousness. The purpose of this podcast, really everything I'm doing out in the world, is to talk about how we fully embody this truth of this connection and this higher wisdom that is coming onto the earth in a massive way. And I ask her, do you want me to educate the masses? And she says no, which is interesting. And then she kind of goes on to say it because what she's meaning when she says no is that I'm not personally teaching it. I'm just a transmitter. The UTs, the angels, the interdimensional beings, they are the teachers. I'm just the bridge. I'm just the transmitter to you. So the next thing she says, UTs are feeding you and you are feeding the masses. So this is really the architecture of what is happening here. So they feed me and then I feed you, and then, go out and feed other people. And we're all doing this in different ways. It's not like I am the main person that is doing this. This specific frequency, yes, I'm feeding it to you guys. And then you are getting that frequency. Even if you're actually not listening, you're still getting it because this is going out energetically. So, and she's making sure I know I'm just the middle point, the conduit. And I ask her, so are you giving me information and then through channeling it, I'm giving it to other people? And she says, yes. And I ask her, is there more to it? And she says, yes. And she's just saying that there is another layer beyond just what I think it is. And I know that it's more than my human mind could comprehend. And it comes out later that my vibration itself is teaching. Really, without anybody listening, just walking out in the world, our energy is shooting out to other people. My state of being feeds people. My ability to sit in the calm, my field can educate people without me talking at all. That is something that she continues to teach me. And that is something that you should all think about too, because you're all doing the same thing. Really, it's our state of being. And we come into this calm, okay, and this high vibration. And then it just feeds out really without us having to shout it from the rooftops. I do talk about it because I just listened to what to do next. And she's asking me to share this. So she next says, high vibration stars, bam. So high vibration, that's the access to the stars, right? When we're in that high vibration to get this information. And she talks about bam, and that really, we've talked about that before in this podcast. It's breaking apart the matrix, but it also can be like a certain frequency and activation point, them sending us to. And I ask her specifically, the stars break apart the matrix? And she says yes. So the star level consciousness, it disrupts this old programming, this way that we thought that things were. I mean, I can't even believe sometimes, even that I'm sitting here doing this, I just had no idea the amount of really waking up in the dream that was going to happen. So here I am sharing this with you, but it's because of that bam, that breaking apart of the matrix that has happened to me as they have fed me this wisdom, and now I'm feeding it to you. So she says, feed high wisdom UTs are helping. So these interdimensional beings, these ultra terrestrials, they help me transmit this wisdom so that it dismantles this matrix. So these stars, bam. And I ask her, what kind of wisdom do you want me to be sharing? And she says, read, feed high, UTs feed, UTs bam. So when she says read, she does give me a specific text to read. But I read a lot of different things that carry frequency, and she teaches me through what I'm looking at in the books. I do encourage you to read and go to the bookstore. If you hear a book a couple times, then maybe that's what you're supposed to be reading. So she gives me a specific text to read. And then just knowing that as I raise my frequency, I have an ability to connect more and be fed more. The next thing was bam. So each time I receive more frequency, more high vibration, they can help me break apart that matrix. And the next thing she says is high wisdom feeds bam. High wisdom educates. Wisdom feeds calm. Give time feeds high wisdom. So we know high wisdom educates. We're being educated, not in the traditional way that we would read a book and try to learn about it, but in an energetic way. This feeling that brings peace, this wisdom that they're sending to us, that it brings calm. Give time feeds. It's really just saying that this integration that we have to do as we begin to receive this higher vibration, this higher wisdom, that it takes time. It takes time for us to integrate it all. So we don't have to rush into ascension. We just trust that it's all unfolding, and we do the next thing that we feel that we're supposed to be doing. And so I ask her, when you're talking about vacating, are you talking about people leaving this earth? Only reason I clarify that over and over is because a lot of times people hear vacating and they think dying. And she says, so I said, what are you talking about when you're talking about vacating? And then she says, high wisdom, vacating. And I said, well, what do you mean by vacating? Trust. So she's saying it doesn't mean death. It means emptying, clearing, surrendering, stepping out of this density, the ego, personality, the identity with who we think we are, and just trusting. So when we vacate, we become a clear vessel, like I said before, and those clear vessels help us move into these levels. And then the next thing she says is, we ask you to feed. UTs ask high vibrating. Feed UTs. Educate. Kira, UTs, bam. So they're asking us to keep feeding, sharing. That's why I continue to share these, even if it doesn't totally make sense to everyone. I can be confident that it will reach the people that it needs to, because I trust, and that's one of the things she continuously asks is trust that it will reach the people that it needs to. She's just saying that they want me to stay in a high vibration so that I can receive clearly, and that my field and their transmissions together are education, and that bam is an activation moment again, breaking apart the matrix. And the next thing she says is, will cast, high vacating feeds calm, UTs feed great awakening, educate, Kira feeds you, vacating feeds high vibration. So that first part, bam will cast, your bam activations will cast. So like, this breaking apart the matrix is going to send out waves. When you vacate or you empty, you create calm because there's no resistance. So they're helping us feed the great awakening through me, through you. And Kira really feeds me directly. And all the work I do on myself, a lot of the stuff I talk about on this podcast, that helps raise my vibration. And the more that I vacate, the higher that I vibrate. Same thing for you guys. And I ask her, what do you think I should do to vacate? And she just responds with carry high vibration. UTs are feeding high vibration, dare to feed, vacating, opens, get ready, feel good always. And she's just really saying everything that pulls your vibration down, thoughts, density, fear, stories, identifying with the ego, having certain expectations or thinking that it has to be a certain way, dare, feed, vacating opens. When you dare to empty yourselves, you open to receive more. And get ready. This is something she said from the very first channeling. Get ready. All is coming. Something big is coming. Well, for me, something big has already come. This completely new experience, being awake in the dream. And it really is coming for everybody. So I imagine it will continue to unfold. And she's just saying, get ready. Not to be afraid, but just, and I'm confident, but I stay present. I'm confident something's coming more, but I stay present. So she's saying, get ready, feel good always. And that feel good always is just saying, Your frequency is the key. And I asked her, how do I get ready? And she said, Kira, vacating high vibration feeds high vibration. So her vacating, like her from the other side, meets my vacating on Earth, which creates a bridge and amplifies that vibration. So she's helping us. She's helping us by teaching us, by showing us, and all of the beings, all of the angels are helping us. And so that we could amplify this vibration. And I just ask her, so I need to just be around stuff that's high vibrating? She says yes. And we know this. Our environment matters, that we need to protect our energy. I talked about that on a previous podcast about protecting our energy. I'm going to be talking about, moving into really making sure that you're connecting with other high vibrating people, that we do this in community, that we listen to high vibrating things, that we just try to continuously feed ourselves with this high vibration so that we can feed it to others. Vacating gives vibration open space. So that's pretty simple, that when we clear out, we create space, and then the space we are open for higher vibration. Again, I ask her, so tell me, how do I vacate? She says, high talk, UT's calm, get ready, feed, feed, feed. So that high talk is like getting information from our higher selves, from them. And then the UT's calm, allow the calmness that's coming from them, the energy that they're sending us, to regulate us, to keep us calm. And get ready. I mean, I just talked about that I will keep feeding and keep sharing. And I ask her specifically, what is the most important thing to do to get ready? And she said, give UTs feel good always. And I asked her, does that have to do with the podcast? And she said, no. The point is not the podcast. It's a state of being. For me, it's not give them the Feel Good Always podcast. It's everything I do out in the world, that I embody this Feel Good Always energy, that it is a frequency, that it is a mission. I asked her, is it just to be in a good mood? And she said, yes. I said, how do I do that if I'm not in a good mood? Because trust me, guys, I'm human. Sometimes I am not in a good mood. And, I ask her, how do I keep myself high vibrating? And she just says, stay feel good always. She continues to say the same thing over and over. Stay in a high vibration by returning again and again to this knowing that it is possible. It doesn't mean we bypass our feelings. We definitely feel our feelings, but just knowing that this peace and this beautiful energy is possible. And we do that through presence, through connection, really through surrender and peace, knowing that only love is real, connecting to the truth. It's really not a mood, it's a state of being. And I just asked one more time. So I think when I channeled, I was not in the best mood. So I was like, a lot of stuff has been going on with me. I'm still a human. And she said, I asked her, how do I keep myself feel good always? And she said, we're high vibrating and we're feeding you. And then you feed feel good always. So they feed my vibration and I feed the world with it. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so, that you've come along with me on this journey. If you're here, I don't believe it's by accident. I asked her the last thing, I said, anything else? What else? And she says, high BAM, high wisdom, feel, feed, talk, educate, feed, feed, feed. So really talking about that BAM, breaking apart the matrix, that high wisdom. And that's really what I'm transmitting here to you. And that to stay in our bodies, to feel everything that is coming through and to feed this energy. We feed it to each other and we talk, we use our voices to share it, but we can educate other people through this, through showing them things, but really to embody this truth. So thank you for listening today. I hope that you understood some of that. And if you didn't, remember, that's okay too, because it really is not completely meant to be comprehended by the human mind. It is meant to be a felt experience that will really activate you into these higher vibrations of feel good always. So thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. And if this episode spoke to you, please make sure you follow the Feel Good Always podcast so you never miss an episode. I'm going to be sharing more channeling. And if you're listening before December 22nd, 2025, don't forget about the Costa Rica giveaway, a 7-night, 8-day trip, an experience designed to bring you back into peace, presence, and connection. It is a giveaway through the foundation, the Becky Bradley Foundation, and somebody donated this trip to us, and we are using it to raise money for foster kids through Becky Bradley Foundation. And we are just hoping to spread that feel good always, give somebody a chance to win $22 to get a chance to win a trip to Costa Rica. So that link is down in the show notes. Thank you for walking this path with me. I love you guys and feel good always.